Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Cup of Joe with me, Joe, your host. Good to see you again. Happy Halloween as well. I'm going to have to make this episode a little quicker than usual, so I've got a lot going on. It's Halloween, of course. I've got my son's got a flag football game. I'm supposed to go out with friends later on this afternoon for lunch. A lot going on. So I'm going to try to motor through this episode faster than usual. But before we get into the content, and again, this show is the NCAA review, NFL preview of the upcoming games. Speaking of NCAA, this was a crazy week. It was a ton of upsets and topped off by a really great rivalry game that did not disappoint at all. We're going to get into that game first. But quick, before we get into the content, just a reminder, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that 5-star Apple review. Why? Because we deserve it. Where you can find the show: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Facebook, where we have two pages: one of Family Breaks and our main title page, Toilets to Titles. And when a Family Breaks is our page that's dedicated. It's our Facebook page dedicated to the trading of sports memorabilia, but we have our videos up there too. So check it out. It's a really cool page as well. And last but not least, you can find us on patreon.com/toilets and titles. Go there. You can find out how you can further support the show. And just a friendly reminder, we have a website that we launched on August 1st, which I'm very, very proud of. It has all of our videos, articles, tons of fantasy football and NFL content. Check it out. Really proud of it. It is a great website. And that is, you'll see we're up to like 14 or 15 contributors now here at Toilets and Titles. And we all contribute, whether it's videos, articles, we all bring what we can. And we produce a lot of great content, so definitely check it out. And I do want to give a shout out to some of our newer members here at Toilets and Titles, the colleagues that I'm working with. I think one person that I haven't mentioned yet, who's been actually a team member for the past few months, is Eric Artson. He's been around. He joined us, I think, back in August. And recently, someone who just joined us officially is Joe Iarachi. I believe I'm saying Joe's last name correctly. If I am slaughtering it, Joe, I do apologize. But Joe's actually been doing Dash of DFS with Coach, I believe, on Thursday nights, I believe it is. And so he's been doing that show with Coach. But he just officially joined the team this weekend. So welcome aboard, Joe. And another person who's been doing another show with us for the past 2 months is Mark Bull. He's actually on our Down Under Dynasty team down in Australia. But Mark has been doing our Saturday Down Under Dynasty program with the rest of our Australian crew, and that's Ben and Matt. He's been doing that for the past few months, but he officially came on board this weekend as well. So we got we have a huge crew at Toilets and Titles to provide you with so much great content, and it really is a great crew. And just another reminder, following this show, starting at around 10:30 a.m. every Sunday, is the Blitz, which is our fantasy football advice program. And a lot of it is start sit advice, but this is definitely a viewer driven program where eventually we'd like to have it to be a call-in show. But right now, you can send any and all questions that you have through the chat, and our hosts, Mike, Alex, and Justin, will answer any and all questions that you have. But it's a great program. I love it. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's called the Blitz, and it starts every Sunday at around 10:30 a.m. So let's get into the content, the game of the week. We're going to start off with that. The game of the week was Michigan State University, the Spartans, number 8, upsetting Michigan Wolverines, who came in ranked number 6. Final score was 37-33. This wasn't a huge upset. This is obviously two closely ranked teams. Two of the top ranked teams are obviously in the top 10. And this game coming into it really could have went either way, and it was looking like that throughout the game. This game was everything you're looking for in football, football game in general, but especially a college rivalry game like this. Both teams were having really good years. They both came in 7-0, and MSU, the Spartans, pulled off the upset here, the slight upset, I should say, and they held on. And this game went back and forth. I don't know if you saw it, but this game went back and forth throughout the entire game. And MSU pulled up, I should say, they took the lead with just, I think, like under maybe like 2 minutes left. And then they held on. Michigan was driving a little bit, but MSU got an interception, I think, with a little over a minute left, with a little over a minute left to seal the game. And so MSU should be moving up, I'd say, to at least number 6 this week. and Michigan will probably drop down to like number 8. I don't think Michigan's going to drop down out of the top 10 because this is a really good game. And losing to number 8 MSU, there's no embarrassment in that. I think Michigan's going to stay in the top 10, but MSU, I would assume, is going to jump up 2 spots to at least number 6. And quite frankly, I'm hoping that MSU can eventually move up to the top 4. You've got Cincinnati Bearcats, who I'm not a big believer in. They're having a really good year, and they have beaten at least one, maybe two ranked teams. But I'm still not a big believer in Cincinnati just because of their track record, the program's record throughout their history, where they've never really been like a top 4 team. And you still have Ohio State lingering at number 5, and Ohio State's they usually make the top 4. But I'm hoping MSU. I'm hoping that they can keep things rolling, that this will eventually help them get into the top 4 by the end of the season. Because I'd love to see a Michigan team in the top 4. And unfortunately, Bearcat fans, nothing against you, but I believe more in Michigan State University than I do in Cincinnati. I'd like to see Michigan up there in the top 4, and I'd like to, even in place of Ohio State, who I think probably will, be a top 4 team. Ohio State, just because they usually are, and you can never count them out. And they only have one loss right now. In Ohio State, like I said, they are top 5. They are ranked 5th, and you can never count them out. But I'm hoping that Michigan State University can eventually get into the top 4 because I'd like to see something a little different there. Right now you've got Georgia at number 1. You've got Cincinnati at number 2, like I said, who by the end of the season, I don't think they're going to be. By the end of the regular season, I don't think Cincinnati is going to be a top 4 team. Number 3, you have Alabama, who had the week off, and I believe it's number 4. You have Oklahoma. So, I think Oklahoma probably will be there at the end of the year. Alabama will be there at the end of the year. Georgia's going to be there at the end of the year, in terms of the top 4 teams. So, who's going to be that 4th team, besides Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma? Is it going to be Cincinnati? I don't know. Is it going to be Ohio State? Probably. But it could be MSU, who I'm kind of rooting for at this point. Because, like I said, I'd like to see a Michigan team in the top 4 for the first time in a while. But anyway, let's get a box score of this game. I'm not going to go into all the box scores, like I said, because I also have to go over my NFL picks for Week 8. And I just have a lot going on today, so I kind of need to get through this pretty quick. But we're definitely diving into this box score. Kenneth Walker III was the man of this game, the star of this game. MSU running back. The man had 23 carries for 197 yards, 5 touchdowns, right? 5 touchdowns on 197 yards rushing. He also put up 11 yards receiving, not a big number, but that puts him over 200 yards combined, both rushing and receiving. So Kenneth Walker III, definitely the player of the game, the star of the game. He is a junior, most likely going into the NFL draft in 2022. So remember that name, Kenneth Walker III. On the Michigan side, well, I guess I'll stay on the Michigan State side. Nothing really all that big in the receiving game for MSU. They did spread the ball around fairly nicely. Jaden Reed, wide receiver, had 80 yards. Jalen Naylor had 75 yards. And let me look at the defensive stats here. All right, MSU actually didn't have any sacks. I was looking to that because I know they have some pretty good defensive players. On the Michigan side, quarterback Cade McNamara had 383 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. McNamara also had 23 yards rushing, so that put him over 400 yards for the day. Wide receiver Andrell Anthony from Michigan had 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Eric All, wide receiver of Michigan, had 98 yards as well. So those are definitely some numbers worth calling out. And you had over here, here's a big name that's coming. It's expected to come out into the 2022 draft from Michigan. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end. I know the Giant fans he's a name they're looking into because we're 2-5, and our season right now is trending towards being another lost season. So we're looking at offensive linemen, we're looking at defensive linemen, pass rushers, and Aiden Hutchinson is definitely one of those names that we have marked down for a possibility for one of our first round picks. He did get a sack in this game. David Ojabo, that's spelled Ojabo, had 2 sacks for the Wolverines as well. But again, the star of the game was Kenneth Walker III, running back, with over 200 yards combined and 5 touchdowns. So he had an incredible game. All right, so, and let me get that banner out of here. Moving on to the next game, Oklahoma, number 4, defeated Texas Tech, 52-21. Oklahoma's obviously going to be staying number 4. And going back to Michigan real quick, like I said, I think MSU is going to. I don't think they're going to go to number 5 ahead of Ohio State. But I think they'll go up to number 6. I think they'll take Michigan's spot at number 6, and I think Michigan will probably take MSU's spot at number 8. I don't think Michigan's going to drop out of the top 10, and nor should they. Michigan's been a really good team the whole year. Um, so let's move on to Oklahoma. Oklahoma destroyed Texas Tech 52-21. No surprise here. I do want to go into this box score because Caleb Williams, freshman quarterback from Oklahoma, is a hell of a story. Now, this guy is not coming into, he's a freshman, so he's not coming into the 2022 draft, but the dude had 402 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. Now, even against a team like Texas Tech, which Texas Tech isn't horrible, the Raiders, they're now 5-4. They were 5-3 before this loss. They're not a horrible team. Caleb Williams put up 6 touchdowns, 402 yards, and passing. And so just an incredible game. And again, the story with Caleb Williams is that it was Spencer Rattler who was one of the top quarterback names. It was expected to be one of the top quarterback names, possibly the number 1 coming into the 2022 draft. That was Oklahoma's quarterback, Spencer Rattler. He was benched a few weeks ago and replaced with Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams has been on fire. He's been amazing. So he's having just an incredible rookie year, an incredible freshman year. And again, 6 touchdowns, 402 yards passing on 23 for 30 attempts, 23 completions, 30 attempts, an incredible game. And, shout out as well to Oklahoma wide receiver Marvin Mims, 2 touchdowns, 135 yards. Wide receiver for Oklahoma, Mario Williams, 1 touchdown, 100 yards. So really impressive games there. Um, and on the Texas Tech side, I want to call out Eric Ezukanama. It's a name I'm not familiar with, to be honest with you. Eric Ezukanma. It's Ezukanma. 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 Eric Ezukanma. I'll tell you, when I was younger, I used to be great at pronouncing names that were like pronouncing unfamiliar names. Now at the age of 50, I'm horrible at it. So maybe I've just lost patience with trying to do it. I don't know, or I just don't care anymore. But anyways, first name is Eric. He had a really good game, 123 yards receiving and a touchdown. And again, he's a Texas Tech wide receiver. So, but I needed to call up Caleb Williams because this guy is having an incredible freshman year. And again, for the first few games, it was Spencer Rattler who was the starter. And Caleb Williams, I'd say for like the past 3, maybe 4 weeks, has been the starting quarterback now, and he has just been on fire. Wow. So let's move on to the next game. Auburn. Here's one of the upsets. There were a ton of upsets this week, and that's what makes college football so interesting. Is that it really is so less predictable than NFL games, really. I should say, the results that is. And here you had number 18 Auburn, who upset Ole Miss. Ole Miss is one of my sweetheart teams. Ole Miss was number 10. Auburn was 18. Auburn took care of Ole Miss 31-20. I do want to go into that game because you have some significant players there, such as quarterback Matt Corral for Ole Miss. He should be coming into. I think he's a senior, so he should be coming into the 2022 draft. If he's a senior, then he definitely will. If he's a junior, then he probably will be. But Matt Corral, Ole Miss quarterback, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 289 yards passing. Not the best game. Again, 0 touchdowns. Probably the worst game this year for Matt Corral. Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, 276 yards, 1 touchdown. But running back for Auburn, Tank Bigsby, 140 yards and a touchdown. I'm looking over here in the rushing. Nothing all that impressive for Ole Miss in the running game, to be honest with you. You had a cumulative 157 yards combined rushing with all the running backs together, but really no big numbers to call out there. I'm not going to spend too much time. Ole Miss wide receiver Jacour Pierce, excuse me, Jacour Pearson, 135 yards on 7 receptions. Dontario Drummond, a wide receiver for Ole Miss, who I think is one of the top wide receivers coming out in the 2022 draft. He had a quiet game, 39 yards receiving. So nothing big to call out there, and nothing really all that big on the Auburn side. They spread the ball around. They had 276 yards passing, but they spread the ball around quite a bit. Kobe Hudson had 79 yards. Demetrius Robertson had 55 yards, so nothing really big there to bring home. So, but Auburn's defense did a really great job on Ole Miss's offense. Um, Zacoby McClain for Auburn had 2 sacks. Smoke Monday for Auburn had a sack as well. So their defense really clamped down on Ole Miss's passing game very well. They really took Ole Miss out of their passing game. So they did what they had to do. They got the upset win against Ole Miss. I'm a little upset because I'm an Eli Manning fan. Ole Miss is his alma mater, so I was a little disappointed. But congratulations to you, Auburn. Okay, here is another big upset, and I'm not going to go into this box score, but Wisconsin upset number 9 Iowa 27 to 7. Not even close. Iowa, who was ranked number 2 just like 2 weeks ago, is reeling. They're reeling right now. And I never believed in that ranking that they had. They were, I think, 2, maybe 3, but I think they were actually 2, just like 2 as of 2 weeks ago. And I was never a believer in the Buckeyes being the second ranked, team in college football. But they were ranked number 2. They're now reeling. I'm not going to get into the box score here, but Wisconsin did a good job running the ball. Wisconsin did their Wisconsin thing, and that is they controlled the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage, and they ran the ball well. So Wisconsin's actually had, I think, 2 good games in a row, 2 good wins in a row, and I think Wisconsin might be entering the top 25 this week. They're gonna re-enter the top 25, I think, this upcoming week after this win, and but Iowa, man, they are reeling. They're absolutely reeling. They're going to take a big tumble down, big tumble. They're not dropping to like number 11 or number 12. I think, and they probably drop down to like, I don't remember, like something like 18 possibly. They're going to really take a big dive. Okay, number 1 Georgia took care of business, defeated Florida 34 to 7. Florida had a really good year last year, but unfortunately, when Kadarius Toney gets drafted to my Giants, the wheels fall off. So, but Florida's not having a good year. They got manhandled by Georgia 34 to 7. Do I want to go to the box score of that game? Nah, not really, to be honest with you. Like I said, I have to make this episode pretty quick. Number 2, Cincinnati Bearcats, who I'm always kind of poo-pooing. They took care of business against Tulane 31 to 12. Good for them. And again, it's nothing against Cincinnati. So Bearcat fans, please don't get mad at me. Don't get upset with me. It's nothing against Cincinnati. It's just that for me, I don't believe in them in the long term because they're a program that's never proved it. So I look at these track records, college football, and they really tend to mean something. Such as Ohio State, who's ranked number 5, they could easily take one of those top 4 spots away from Cincinnati. MSU, the Spartans, who are moving up the rankings steadily, and they should move up to probably at least number 6 this week after defeating Michigan. Don't be surprised if MSU eventually takes Cincinnati's spot in the top 4. So, but Cincinnati, you're doing it. You just keep rolling. You got another win. You're beating whoever's put up in front of you, and good for you. Number 5, Ohio State defeated number 20 Penn State 33 to 24. I don't think Penn State. I don't think Penn State's going to drop out of the 25. I don't believe. But Penn State's had some big losses. Some some losses to really good competition, and I don't think they're going to drop out of the 25, but they're going to drop. Penn State's obviously going to drop, but it was a good game. It was a good game. Penn State was in it pretty much throughout the entire game, and they put up a good fight. Against a better team in Ohio State. I'm not a big believer in Ohio State this year. I'm not crazy about their talent, but it's just that they have so much depth that it's hard to overcome Ohio State. So, but I think Ohio State would get destroyed by Alabama, just get destroyed by Georgia, and I think they'd get destroyed by Oklahoma as well. To be honest with you, I'm dying to see Ohio State and MSU. That is a game I'm dying to see. Ohio State versus Michigan State University. I'm dying to see that game. The Buckeyes versus the Spartans. I have to check the calendar, the schedule. I don't know if those 2 teams are lined up. I assume they are going to play sometime this regular season, but we'll see. But Ohio State again took care of Penn State 33 to 24. It was a good game. I don't think Penn State's going to drop out of 25, but they are going to drop a little bit. Ohio State, do they move up? Alabama, I think, is number 3. They didn't play this week. Georgia won. They won again. They're going to stay at number 1. Cincinnati won again. Oklahoma won again. So the top 4 teams either won or didn't play this week. I don't think Ohio State's going to move up from number 5. I don't think they can. I don't think they can. Okay, moving on to Oregon. Number 7 Oregon defeated Colorado 52 to 29. Heck of a game there. I believe Kayvon Thibodeau. That's a name I want to look into here. Let me check out the box score here for Oregon. Um, the only name I'm going to focus on is Kayvon Thibodeau in this game, to be honest with you. Because he is another big defensive name, probably the biggest name coming into the 2022 draft. And Thibodeau had a pretty quiet game, um, three total tackles, no sacks. But Kayvon Thibodeau is probably, there's a very good chance that he's going to wind up being the number one overall pick, unless teams are moving up to unless someone needs a quarterback or someone trades up to get a quarterback, which usually happens anyway. But right now, I'd say Kayvon Thibodeau is probably the best player entering this draft. Arguably, a strong argument can be made for Kayvon Thibodeau being the best player entering the 2022 draft. And he's a name that you definitely want to remember because he will definitely be going top five. And just don't be shocked, even though he's not a quarterback, don't be shocked if he goes number one overall. And the thing about a quarterback going quarterbacks in the 2022 draft, I'm not crazy about this class, to be honest with you. But I've thought that before, and teams nevertheless move up to that number one spot to take a quarterback. So, um, you know, pretty much all the time anyway. So, but right now, Kayvon Thibodeau is the name that you want to remember. Defensive end for Oregon. Um, okay, Notre Dame, number 11 Notre Dame defeated UNC 44-34. Real quick, I want to go into that game because one name you want to remember is Sam Howell. He's a quarterback who is most likely coming out into, I think he's a junior. I mean, if he's a senior, then he's definitely coming out into the next draft. But I think he's a junior, and he probably is coming out into the next draft if he is a junior. 341 yards, one touchdown, one interception. I'm not a big believer in this quarterback class. I'll be honest with you, but Sam Howell's one of the top names there. He put up a decent game, 341 yards, one touchdown, one interception. I expect to see more there. Notre Dame does have a pretty good defense, though. Okay, North Carolina wide receiver. UNC usually produces pretty good wide receivers as well. Josh Downs, 142 yards, no touchdowns, but 142 yards receiving. So that was a big game there for him. And then Notre Dame quarterback Jack Cohen, 16 for 24, 213 yards, one touchdown. He had a quiet game. And Kyron Williams, okay, Kyron Williams, running back for Notre Dame, one touchdown on 199 yards rushing. That is crazy. So he had a touchdown on 199 yards. So obviously Kyron Williams for Notre Dame went crazy in that game. But let's move on. Again, Sam Howell is one of the big quarterback names supposedly coming into the out into the 2022 draft. I'm just not crazy about this quarterback class, and I think Sam Howell is just kind of like a perfect um, representation of this quarterback class. I think he's intriguing or he's got some good aspects, but I don't really think any of these guys coming out are going to be are just going to be like franchise quarterbacks. I just don't believe in them. I would stay away from them unless you're taking like Sam Howell, say like in the middle of the first round or the end of the first round. That's all cool. I just don't think any of these guys are like top three or top five picks. I really don't. I don't even think they're I don't even think they're worth top 10 picks, to be honest with you. Okay, moving on to Wake Forest, number 13. Surprisingly, Wake Forest is a quiet 13. I believe they're now 8-0, 8-0, undefeated. They defeated Duke 45-7. You're not a surprise, ever since my Daniel Jones was drafted by the Giants from Duke a few years ago, Duke just hasn't been the same. That's what happens when you lose a talent like Daniel Jones to the Giants. Just like when Florida lost Kadarius Toney to the Giants. But Wake Forest is quietly a quiet 13 that I would expect after this, ass kicking that they gave Duke, that they're going to move up to like, we'll move up a little, 12, maybe 11. I don't think Wake Forest is going to crack the top 10. I don't. Not this week. I don't. But Wake Forest has steadily been moving up the boards, and they're now up to 13. So let's see what they do next week as well. Number 15, Oklahoma State defeated Kansas. Well, they kicked the crap out of Kansas 55-3. They took care of the Jayhawks. Oklahoma State's also steadily moving up the boards. I'm actually a bigger believer in Oklahoma State than I am Wake Forest. I'm never a believer in Wake Forest. But Oklahoma State, I like to see they are steadily moving up the boards. And they'll probably move up to like 13. Wake Forest should probably move up to like 12 or 11. I would assume Oklahoma State's going to move up like at least two spots to 13. They kicked the crap out of Kansas 55-3. Baylor, another program I never really believe in. They're usually a good program, but they usually have some significant upsets in their seasons where they get upset. That is, but number 16 Baylor defeated Texas. They defeated the Longhorns 31-24. Not a surprise there. I'm not going into that box score. The U, one of the teams that I root for, along with Notre Dame and Penn State. University of Miami upset 17 Pittsburgh 38-34. Not a big surprise at all. But the University of Miami, which is having a really bad year, got a nice upset here against Pitt 38-34. So good for them. Houston upset number 19 SMU 44 to 37. SMU will drop a little bit. I don't think they're going to drop out of the 25, but was having a nice season. They had a really nice upset. I forgot against two, but they had at least one really nice upset this season that catapulted them into the rankings. I don't think they're going to drop out of 25, but losing at Houston's not good. Houston's a program that usually has game. You can't sleep on them, especially when you're, kind of like a middling program like SMU. But Southern Methodist goes down 44-37. Fresno State, unranked Fresno State upset one of my sweethearts, San Diego State, 30-20. San Diego State, I think, had entered the rankings uh, uh, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think they entered the rankings last week. And San Diego State's one of my sweethearts. I like this program. They're a smaller program that always punches above their weight class. But unfortunately, the tables were turned on them, the turntable. And Fresno State, I think this is their second big upset this year because they defeated UCLA early in the season when UCLA was ranked like number 13. And Fresno, this is the second upset of a ranking that Fresno State had. Don't be surprised if Fresno State enters the top 25 this upcoming week based on this upset here. San Diego State may tumble out of the top 25. They could. Don't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop to number 25 or if they tumble out. They're kind of teetering there. So Fresno State, I think, will enter the top 25. San Diego State, I can go either way, whether they stay ranked or they drop out of the 25. But don't be surprised if Fresno State enters the top 25 now. West Virginia upset number 22 Iowa State 38-31. West Virginia is one of those programs. I think this is their second pretty nice upset this year actually against a ranked team. West Virginia is one of those programs. Even when they're not ranked, you can never sleep on them because they will step up and bite you in the ass. And West Virginia is always known to do that. Oftentimes they are ranked. Most seasons, I'd say more seasons than not, West Virginia is a ranked team. This year so far, I don't know if they ever entered the rankings, but they're a program that you can never sleep on, especially when you're only ranked 22. West Virginia is known for getting its share of upsets, and here they go, 38-31. Don't be surprised if West Virginia enters the top 25. Iowa State should tumble out of the top 25 based on this game. I think they'll be out of the top 25. And don't be surprised if West Virginia enters the top 25. And then you had Coastal Carolina, who's now 24. They didn't go postal on Troy, but they did defeat Troy 35-28. I like this ranking a lot more for Coastal Carolina. They were as high as 14 entering last week's game. They got upset by who did they get upset by last week? Appalachian State, who was unranked. And Coastal, after going postal on everyone throughout this year, got upset by Appalachian State last week. They tumbled all the way down to 24. I think, which is kind of where they belong. I was on the Coastal train. I was rooting for them early in the early part of the season, but I thought the rankings. I thought the ranking got ridiculous when they got up to like 15 and 14. I thought that was ridiculous. They were undefeated, but their competition were smaller programs like Appalachian State, who defeated them last week. UMass, Temple, just programs like that. Like, and not that Temple's really bad, but they're not a rank. I don't think they were a ranked team. And Coastal was beating up on unranked smaller programs. I didn't like that they were ranked number 14. I thought that was fake. There's nothing behind that at all. And they dropped all the way to 24. They did defeat Troy. They should move up a spot or two. I do think Coastal, they should be a ranked team. I just didn't like that they were 14. I thought that was fake. That was fake. And they'll probably move up to like maybe 21 now, maybe 20. maybe. I don't think Coastal's going to enter the top 20 right now, but I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to re-enter the top 20 just yet. But they should move up as high as 21 probably. Um, Okay, and BYU defeated Virginia. 25 BYU defeated Virginia 66 to 49. BYU will stay in the top 25. They'll probably move up a ranking or two, probably to 24, maybe 23. But like I said before, I think Fresno State's going to enter the top 25. But BYU stays in the rankings. They took care of Virginia 66 to 49. Let's go into that game because that is a crazy ass score, isn't it? BYU. Let me see BYU. Okay, so Jaron Hall, quarterback for BYU. Jaron Hall, 349 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Jaron Hall also put up 42 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So Jaron Hall was responsible for 4 touchdowns. That is 3 passing, 1 rushing. And Tyler Algier. I don't know if I'm saying the last name correctly, but running back for BYU, Tyler Algier or Allgaier. Tyler Allgaier, I think is how it's pronounced. Tyler Allgaier, BYU running back, 266 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. That's how you get 66 points, folks. Tyler Allgaier had 266 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. That's a name you want to remember there. And let's see, Virginia wide receiver Dontavion Wicks had 125 yards receiving and a touchdown. And Virginia running back Brennan Armstrong, 94 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. And that was he's a quarterback. I'm sorry, I said running back. He's a quarterback. So he had 95 yards on the ground. Brennan Armstrong, quarterback, also had 337 yards passing. He had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Brennan Armstrong put up almost 450 yards combined, passing and rushing, and he passed for 4 touchdowns and ran for 4 touchdowns and ran for 2 touchdowns. So a great game by Brendan Armstrong, quarterback for Virginia, and great game by Jaron Hall, BYU quarterback. And that's it for the college games. Like I said, I got to motor through this today. Busy, busy day. Okay, time for the NFL picks for Week 8, and I updated them this morning. And like I said on my Wednesday night program, let me do share screen. Share screen. This is a crazy week. Let me do my share screen over here. This is a crazy week because there's so much up in the air. There's so many players that are questionable in terms of injury. We don't know pretty much until like close to game time if they're going to play or not. So this is a scary week for picks. If I were a betting man, and I'm not, I love doing picks. I love, choosing my picks, but I really don't bet on football games. Um, I would stay away from this week in terms of betting. This is scary. I mean, there's maybe like 3 games I would take to the bank, maybe 5, maybe, but this is a scary, scary week. There's just so many injuries, so many question marks in terms of who's playing, who's not. But let's dive into it. So, okay, you can see it here. Okay, so okay, my week 7 results, they were not the best. I was probably my worst week so far. I went 7-5-1 with the spread, and I went 7-6 straight up. Year to date, my results are with the spread. I'm 65, 40, and 2, and straight up, I'm 70 and 37. So here are my week 8 picks. The bye week, the 2 teams that have the bye week are Raiders and the Ravens. Okay, I got this one wrong here, and I should have went with my gut. Packers at the Cardinals. The Cardinals were giving 6.5 points. I took the Cardinals giving the points and the Cardinals straight up because I mean it's not a surprise to take the Cardinals in this situation anyway. But you know what? My gut was telling me that that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers were going to give the Cardinals their first defeat, and I just had a feeling about that, especially in prime time. And the thing is that the Packers had a lot of significant injuries, or I know Devontae Adams didn't play. I don't know if he was injured or he had COVID, but he wasn't playing. Lazard, another receiver, he's not a great receiver, but he could have easily had an impact in the game. He wasn't playing as well, so it looked like it was mostly going to be just like Aaron Rodgers and the running game. But Packers defense, I'll tell you, they played great. The Packers defense played great. the final score of this game, I think if I recall correctly, the Packers won by a field goal. And yeah, and as a matter of fact, the Cardinals, as you probably saw, the Cardinals were driving. It was like 4 seconds. It was just like a handful of seconds left in the game. I think it was third down, and before they went for the game time field goal, the Cardinals were trying to get the game winning touchdown, and the Packers intercepted it in the end zone to seal the victory. It was a heck of a game. It was a great game. But like I said, I should have went with my gut. Something was just telling me that the Packers were going to be the team to end the Cardinals' undefeated streak, to give them their first loss. I should have won with that. I didn't. I went with the injuries, and I lost out on this game because the Packers did win. They won straight up, and they won by 3 points. So I started off this week poorly in my first pick here for the Thursday night game. Okay, moving on. Panthers at the Falcons. The Falcons, the game's in Atlanta. The Falcons are giving 3 points. I'm taking the Falcons giving the points and the Falcons straight up. Um, Panthers are reeling. Christian McCaffrey is not back right now, and the Panthers do not look the same without McCaffrey, and that's not a surprise. It's not a surprise, but the Panthers are reeling now. They lost to my Giants last week, like 25-3. That was really bad. Sam Darnold was benched last week too. So but their offensive line doesn't look good. The receivers are very mundane. I mean, I like Moore. I think he's a good receiver, but I don't think he's a real legitimate number one wide receiver. He's more of like a number two. And the Falcons are playing really well. The Falcons, I think, are what 3-3, I believe, or are they? What are I forgot the Falcons' record, but they're like 3-3 or 3-4, just like the Panthers. But the Falcons have been really, really competitive. And it looks like Pitts is really finding his rhythm now. Kyle Pitts, rookie tight end, is just getting better and better every week. He had a monster game last week. Also, they also have Cordarrelle Patterson, your running back slash wide receiver, who's having a monster game, monster season for the Falcons. Matt Ryan's looking pretty good. So I'm going with the Falcons in this game. Like I said, until the Panthers and the Panthers have injuries too. On the defensive side of the ball, they're just kind of reeling right now. So I'm going to go with the Falcons giving the points and the Falcons straight up. Dolphins at the Bills. The Bills are laying 14 points. I got to go with the Bills giving the points and the Bills straight up. I just got to do it. The Dolphins have been reeling. I do, Tua is going to be playing this week, but there've been trade rumors of the Dolphins trading for Deshaun Watson. Don't be surprised if the Bills cover the spread. I mean, not the Bills, if the Dolphins cover the spread, because it is a divisional game, and I could picture. I know the Dolphin players like Tua a lot, and I'm kind of upset that the Dolphins are giving up on Tua already. I don't think they should, and I don't think they should give up 3 first-round picks, which is what they're rumored to be given up if they were to trade for Watson. Even though Watson's a heck of a talent, I don't think they should make that move. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins step up and really try to, have a show something in this game, in order to kind of like try to keep Tua around. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Dolphins actually cover the spread. It is a big spread anyway, but I'm going to stick with the Bills, given the 14 points, and the Bills straight up, of course, just because the Dolphins really have been reeling. They have been reeling. But I'll say this, Tua hasn't been great, but I think he's been okay. And the Dolphins passing game, the receiving game has been so much better when he's in there, when Tua is in there at quarterback. So I do think he makes a difference. But I got to go with the Bills giving the points and the Bills straight up. Okay, 49ers at the Bears. The 49ers are giving 4 points. I'm going to take the Bears getting the points. This is a scary game. The 49ers look like crap. But then again, so do the Bears with Justin Fields, and that's nothing against Justin Fields. It's just that he's playing very much like a rookie quarterback. And so I'm not nailing him or anything, but he's just playing very much like a rookie quarterback. And but Bears defense has been good, and they've been very, very good at keeping their team in games. So the 49ers themselves are kind of reeling as well. So but I'm going to go with the Bears getting the points in this game. I'll take the 49ers straight up. It's in San Francisco. Justin Fields is going to have to show that he can, they can bring a little more to the table right now at this point in his career, early in his career. So I'm going to go with the 49ers straight up, but I'm going to take the Bears getting the points in this game. And I got a comment over here. Let me check it out. Kidder96. Hey, good morning, Kidder96. I hope all's well, man. He says, I want the Cowboys to beat the Vikings, the Saints to beat the Buccaneers, and the Titans to beat the Colts. I still have to get to all those games, but you know what? Kidder96, I do think that, listen, the Cowboys. I'm going to get to all those games. I'm going to get to all those games, but um, I think you're looking pretty good, man. It all depends on Dak. It all depends on Dak. And right now, I checked this morning. It sounds like indications are that Dak is not going to play. And I still give the Cowboys a legitimate shot to beat the Vikings. And I think the Vikings are a pretty good team, and they've got a high octane offense themselves. But I think the Cowboys defense has been good this year, and I think they're legit. I think the Cowboys defense is legit. But I think the Cowboys running game behind that offensive line is still capable, even without Dak, is still capable of taking over that game for Dallas. So I'm kind of on the fence with that, but I'm going to get to all those games in a little bit. But thanks for checking in, Kidder 96. I hope you're still paying attention, buddy. Hope you're still watching the show. All right, so Steelers at the Browns. Browns are given 4.5 points. It looks like Baker is going to play, but we know that he is playing injured. Uh, more important, I guess more importantly, Nick Chubb is playing, and that's a huge difference maker. Chubb is playing the games in Cleveland. I'm scared about I'm scared about this pick, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm taking the Steelers, getting the points, and the Steelers straight up. Um, Even though Chubb is back and Baker wasn't having a great season anyway before he got injured, this is the Browns just have an overpowering running game, but I think the Steelers defense is very good. And the Steelers offense has not been great this year, but I do think Najee Harris is getting better and better. I think he's becoming more and more of a difference maker. Um, but I'm going to stick with my picks here. I'm just worried that and Chubb is a phenomenal running back, but I am concerned that Kareem Hunt isn't there, isn't there as well. And Baker Mayfield's injury worries me as well. So I'm going to go with the Steelers getting the points and the Steelers straight up in this game. I do not like betting against Cleveland in Cleveland, but I am going to go with the Steelers getting the points and the Steelers straight up. Eagles at the Lions. Eagles are giving 3.5 points. I'm taking the Lions getting the points and the Lions straight up. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Eagles won. I do think they are ultimately a better team on paper against the Lions, but the Lions have been hanging tough every single game. They seem like they're tough, like their head coach Dan Campbell, who I really like a lot, who I adore, and he's got the Lions staying in every single game. And so I think the Lions are probably the best 0-7 team I've ever seen. The Lions are probably I think they're gonna get their first win against the Eagles in Detroit. In Detroit. So I'm gonna take the Lions getting the points and getting points at home. I'm taking the Lions getting the points and the Lions straight up for the upset. Titans at the Colts. Okay, Kidder, this is one of the games you brought up. Titans at the Colts. The Colts are laying 2.5 points. I'm taking the Titans, getting the points, and the Titans straight up. Don't be shocked at all if the Colts win. This is a really, really good divisional game. The Colts are getting better every single week. Carson Wentz has been looking better every single week. He's looking like the real deal again. The Colts defense is very good, very, very good. And and also, I believe T.Y. Hilton is expected to play this week, and he's not. It's highly doubtful that T.Y. Hilton is ever going to be a legitimate wide receiver, like an elite wide receiver that he was a few years ago. But he's still, if he's back and he's playing, he is going to be, he is going to be a big contributor to the Colts. He's going to be a big weapon, ready to step on the field to contribute immediately to Carson Wentz. He played 2 weeks ago, T.Y. Hilton, and he had 4 receptions for 80 yards. 80 yards and 4 receptions. First game back this season, that was 2 weeks ago. That's what he can do. He can step on the field immediately. The guy's a savvy veteran, and he can contribute immediately. And T.Y. Hilton could be a difference maker. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts won, especially since this game is in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is a good team. They are a good team. They're getting better and better every week. Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Colts, is having a monster season. I wasn't the biggest believer in Taylor. I was more like he had to prove it to me. A lot of people were higher on him than I was coming into the season, but you know what? He's proven it to me. I got to give it to him. I got to give it to Jonathan Taylor. He's having a monster year. But the Titans right now are just looking solid. Titans are rolling, and I got to stick with the Titans. Even though they're going into Indianapolis, tough divisional game on the road. But I'm going to go with the Titans getting the 2.5 points and the Titans straight up. But this might be the game of the week. This right here might be the game of the week. the Titans at the Colts. That's going to be a great game. Bengals at the Jets. The Jets are reeling. Bengals are laying 11 points. They're giving 11 points, and I'm taking the Bengals, giving the points, and the Bengals straight up. Bengals, I believe, are in first place in the AFC North. They just kicked the crap out of the Ravens surprisingly last week. That was amazing. In Baltimore, that was amazing. And props to the Bengals. That is incredible. Here they are. They're going to the Meadowlands to play the Jets. The Jets are reeling. Zach Wilson, I believe, is out, and so their backup quarterback is who's I forgot his name. The backup quarterback will be in. The Jets did trade. They traded a sixth-round pick to the Eagles just earlier this week for Joe Flacco, but I highly doubt Joe Flacco is going to be playing this week because you know it's a he was on the Jets last year, but this is a new coaching staff, new offense. I don't think Flacco is going to be playing this week, and I don't know if he can. I don't know if you're allowed to play that soon after being traded. I could be wrong about that, but I wouldn't expect Flacco to play this week. But even if it does, I don't think it really matters. I think that the Jets is so lacking in talent on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not a big believer in their wide receivers. Corey Davis, I think Corey Davis is an okay wide receiver, but when he's your best wide receiver, I think that's a problem. And the Bengals defense has been looking pretty good this year. They held the Ravens to, I forgot how many points, maybe it was like 13, but they held the Ravens to like minimal amount of points last week. That's impressive. So the Bengals offense has been really impressive, but the defense has been pretty good this year too. So listen, I'm making this too long of a story with the Bengals and the Jets. Bengals giving 11 points. I'm taking the Bengals giving the points and the Bengals straight up. Rams at the Texans. Rams are giving 16 points. You see big point spreads like this, you should be normally be scared with a huge point differential here. But the Texans are, obviously they're reeling. They're not a good team. The Rams are one of the top teams in the NFL. I'm going to go with the Rams giving 16 points and the Rams straight up, obviously. Let's see, Patriots at the Chargers. The only thing that worries me about this is that the Rams are going to take a big lead early and eventually maybe like in the second half, early in the second half, maybe put like their backups in, and maybe that allows the Texans to pull within 16 points. But I got to go with the Rams, even though they're giving 16 points. I'm going with the Rams giving the points and the Rams straight up. Patriots at the Chargers. Chargers are giving 4.5 points. I'm taking the Chargers giving the points and the Chargers straight up. The game is in Los Angeles. I'm definitely taking the Chargers straight up, but man, I would not be surprised if the Patriots um, keep this game within the spread. I would not be surprised if the Patriots cover the spread. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I'm gonna go with the Chargers because the Chargers could easily win just by a touchdown, and that would still be a close game. So I got to go with the Chargers giving the points and the Chargers straight up. Jaguars at the Seahawks. Seattle is giving 3.5 points. The Jaguars got their first win, I think it was last week, and the Jaguars are looking better and better every week, and that's because Trevor Lawrence is looking better and better every week. And yeah, not a surprise, Trevor Lawrence is going to be an excellent NFL quarterback, and he's looking really good, Trevor Lawrence. And I'm going to go in this game. I'm going to go with the Jaguars getting the points and the Jags straight up. I believe Russell Wilson's still injured, he's still sitting out with his broken fingers. I'm going to go with the Jaguars, even though it's in Seattle. Even though it's in Seattle, I'm going with the Jags getting the points and the Jags straight up in this game here. Washington at the Broncos. Both teams are kind of reeling. Washington's been the entire season. They've been, they haven't really played all that great. They haven't lived up to their billing entering the season. The Broncos now, I believe the Broncos, like Carolina, I think both teams started off 3-0. I think they've both lost 4 in a row now. The Broncos, so the game's in Denver though. The Broncos are giving 3.5 points. I'm going to go with Washington getting the points. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington wins this game, but I'm going to go with Washington getting the points and the Broncos straight up. All right, so I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to stick with Washington getting the points and the Broncos straight up. Buccaneers at the Saints. Okay, this is another game that Kidder 96 had called out before. Buccaneers at the Saints. The Buccaneers are only giving 4.5 points. I find that hard to believe. I don't get that line. That should be a much bigger spread. I think the Saints kind of stink. They have a good defense, but outside of Alvin Kamara, who's incredible, that Saints offense is horrible. And I don't care that they just traded for Ingram. It doesn't mean much to me. The Bucks, I'm taking the Bucks, giving the points and the Bucks straight up. So Kidder 96. I think the Buccaneers are going to smash the Saints in New Orleans. I don't know why that spread is only 4.5 points. I think there's a huge difference in talent between those two teams. I know it's divisional. I know it's a divisional game. I know it's New Orleans, but I think the Buccaneers are going to smash the Saints. Okay, and here's the last game that Kidder 96 had brought up. Cowboys at the Vikings. The Vikings are giving 4.5 points. All right, here's my caveat. And obviously, it's an important caveat. Dak is questionable. From what I read this morning, from what I gathered this morning, it sounds more likely that Dak will not play. He's traveling with the team, is my understanding. He traveled with the team to Minnesota, but it's my understanding that he's more likely not going to play. But you know what? Actually, I'm going to stick with this, as I have here, with or without Dak, I'm going with Dallas getting the points. I'm going with Dallas getting the points with or without Dak. Because I think, listen, the Vikings they have a very powerful offense themselves, but I think the Cowboys defense is for real. I think they're a legitimate defense. I don't think they're a great defense, but I think they're a good defense. I don't think they're a fluke. Um, but the Vikings do have a really good offense. They've got their own great running game. They have their own great passing game. But I think Dallas, with their overpowering offensive line, even if Dak is out, um, I think their running game alone, behind that offensive line, with Zeke and Pollard, I think they're going to control the game anyway. I think they're going to control the game anyway. And I forgot who the backup quarterback is, but all the receiving weapons are healthy. So I think whoever the backup is, unless he really shits the bed, is going to have all his weapons to play with. And like I said, I think Dallas's defense is good, and I think it's good enough to keep Dallas in this game. And I think with everyone else being healthy besides Dak, I think Dallas has the talent to pull the upset in Minnesota. So I'm going to stick with Dallas getting the points, and that's with or without Dak. Uh, I'm taking the Vikings straight up. If if Dak plays, and here was my caveat: if Dak plays, um, then I'll take Dallas straight up. If Dak is not playing, then I'm taking the Vikings straight up. So I'll take Dallas, with or without Dak. With or without Dak, I'm taking Dallas getting the points. Uh, um, if Dak doesn't play, I'm going to take the Vikings straight up. If Dak does play, then I'll take Dallas straight up. So I know it's kind of confusing. I know, but a lot of it depends on Dak. But like I said, importantly, with the points, I'm taking Dallas getting the points with or without Dak. Giants at the Chiefs. Okay, the Chiefs are giving 10 points. Um, Giants getting the point. I I have the Giants. I'm taking the Giants getting the points if both Shepard and Tony are playing, and that's how it's trending. Right now, the Giants are reeling. Giants are 2-5. The Chiefs have not been the Chiefs. Chiefs are 3-4. But obviously, this is the type of game that could be one of those cure-alls for the Chiefs that set them straight, where they go on a big winning streak. Starting with this Giants game, it's teed up for them. I'm definitely taking the Chiefs straight up, no matter what. But I think the Giants are going to keep it within 10 points. I think it's actually Monday night. I think it's going to be a pretty fun game. And it's my understanding that both Shepard and Tony are trending towards playing. They're both questionable, but it's trending towards playing. And if that's the case, I think the Giants could keep it within 10 points. Listen, these two teams are, very similar in terms of the defenses haven't been playing well. Even though I think Giants defense actually has more talent than Kansas City, the defense have not been playing well. The running game hasn't been there. But still, listen, the Chiefs have Mahomes. They've got Andy Reid at the helm. They've got Travis Kelsey. They've got Tyreek Hill. I don't think the Giants can cover Travis Kelsey. They can't cover Travis Kelsey. I don't think they'll be able to cover Tyreek Hill, but hopefully they can minimize what Hill can do. I think Travis Kelsey is going to be a nightmare for the Giants, but hopefully they can minimize, they can somewhat tamper down Tyreek Hill somewhat to within human to within human performance, something like 100 yards receiving, something like that. That's what I'm hoping for. But I think Daniel Jones, with his legs, can make things very, very interesting. Like I said, the Chiefs defense is nothing to write home at all about. They're not good, and but like I said, I think if Shepard and Tony are playing, I think the Giants, I'll take the Giants getting the points. And right now, I believe Shepard and Tony are going to play. So I'm taking the Giants getting the points and the Chiefs straight up. And that is it for the picks for this week, guys. Like I said, this is a week that scares me. So many injuries. It's gonna be game time decisions. What's going on? And so Kidder 96. Let's revisit what he said over here. You want the Cowboys to beat the Vikings. I think that's going to happen. You want the Saints to beat the Buccaneers. I don't think that's going to happen, my friend. I think the Buccaneers are going to demolish the Saints and the Titans to beat the Colts. I do think that's going to happen. So anyway, those are my picks for this week. Real quick, let me go through this over here. Just some end of the show notes. Our schedule, real quick. Our in-season schedule. We have 8 shows. We've got the waiver wire program. Monday nights. That's for Patreon members only. Tuesday at 8 p.m. We've got Toilets of Titles, which is our flagship program. Wednesday at 9 p.m. is my other show, Joe Knows, the NFL Review Preview, where I review the previous week's games and I preview the upcoming games. And then a Wednesday night at 10 p.m. is Dollars to Deuces. It's weekly betting advice with Rich and Nate. Thursday at 8 p.m. a dash of DFS with Coach and Joe, the other Joe, our new Joe. And Saturday at 7:30 p.m. is Down Under's Dynasty. That's where you've got our contingent, our crew down in Australia, providing a dynasty fantasy football advice. Sunday at 8 a.m. is the show that you're watching right now. And then following the show at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday is The Blitz, which is our fantasy football start sit advice. So it's going to be call-in eventually. That's the plan. But right now, you can send all your questions through the chat for The Blitz for any start sit advice. It's a great program. I love it. Here's the Twitter handles for me and all of my colleagues down here. Please follow us all. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review because we deserve it. Anyway, everyone, I am out of here. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Halloween. I love Halloween. It's a great, great holiday, a lot of fun. And it is a really nice fall day out here, a really nice odd day out here in northeastern New Jersey. Absolutely loving it. But everyone, enjoy your NFL Sunday. And I'll catch you on Wednesday night with my other show. Take care.